Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
If you've ever read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, he talks in there about really three types of people. There are mavens, and mavens are the real intellectual types, and then there are the salespeople, and they're the people who are kind of the influencers, people trying to get you to make a particular move, and then there are connectors, and connectors are people who are essentially bridging one person to the next, making introductions. And so in the world we understand there are connectors. And then we also, in another sort of a sense, we understand that there are innovators, people who are always trying to be on the cutting edge of trying to make a difference in our lives, take out the monotony, if you will. Edison was an innovator. Ford was an innovator. Rockefeller was an innovator. They were all sort of innovators. Today's guest, Tom Gay, he's a cross between being a connector and an innovator. He's a serial marketing tech engineer, or entrepreneur, I should say. And he focuses on helping professionals understand how to develop trusted relationships, referrals, and successful businesses. But a lot of the things he does really helps us take these connections that we get, and we get dozens of them, and really helps try to take the monotony out of, we'll talk about it, but just the monotony out of all, the things, we make our relationship having conversations, not sifting through business cards and things that are in Zoom chats and so on and so forth. So at any rate, with no more delay, Tom, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Frank. It's a joy to be with you. You and I have known each other about 8 or 10 years and watched each other. So I think we have some secrets on each other that are just value adds to being with you.
Yeah, well, thank you. No, I really appreciate you taking the time, and our schedules aligning to make this happen. I guess give us the quick story. The Tom Gay Reader Digest story, and let's talk networking. Let's talk about some of the things you do, Engage Pro and ChatBridge and all sorts of stuff, and why it's of value.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thrilled to be able to do that. As you know, I'm a serial tech entrepreneur, but I kind of changed my wording the other day. Tech puts you in one category with most people. I'm really a marketing entrepreneur, with technology being the slave you harness in order to help you get to the things you're trying to get to. And that's always grow your business, get more clients, whatever way you express it. So I've had the pleasure of starting 7 companies. All of them made it to various levels of success. 3 of them I sold into stronger, larger hands, had some nice exits, took one public. And I just enjoy being able to take the challenges that people face today and bringing new solutions as we can with the evolution of technology.
Yeah, I've always looked at business as really any business as having 3 aspects to it. There's the marketing side. You always need to be out there and trying to work with your clients, get more business from the clients you have, or find new clients. There's the technical side. There's the technical, whatever you bring to your clients. I used to be an attorney. There's a technical aspect. You need to understand the law. You can't be an attorney if you don't understand the law, and you need to still get out and market to clients. And then the third thing in any business, which is the necessary evil, is the administrative side. You got to bill your clients. You got to account for the monies. You got to, do whatever it is, pay your taxes. That's the administrative side. And nobody likes those things. But I said, it's a necessary evil. And as I look at the things that you're putting together, you're really trying to, as you put it, using technology as a slave to minimize that administrative stuff. I guess let's pick on ChatBridge, which I'll let you talk about ChatBridge, but that's what I kind of see it as, is the ability for people to, well, I don't want to, you talk about ChatBridge.
Well, ChatBridge is a great example because it is really a picture of how every one of my companies came to be.
Mm-hmm.
Back in January of this year, 2023, a friend of mine, longtime friend of mine, came to me. He's a very connected social media maven. And he said, Tom, I got a problem. Can you help me? I go to all these Zoom networking meetings. I download the save chat, as people say, or save the chat. And I'm left with a very challenging piece of information in an unusable document, full of gibberish at times and disconnected information. And I can't follow up with people. Now, he leads a networking group for a large organization. And this gent has 27,000 LinkedIn connections, to give you a sense of scale.
Yeah.
Well, he came to me with a problem. I understand technology can often be used to solve problems. And if more than just he has that problem, maybe there's a marketplace to serve. So I went to work for 3 months, created an approach. Suddenly we had a prototype. It's Q2 of this year, and we brought the prototype out in a very quiet way and showed people how you can take that save Zoom chat and in milliseconds, convert it into a very easy to use follow-up system. And then a couple of months later, released it to the marketplace. Now we're into the end of Q2. We're in June. And released it to a marketplace where it's now gone into global use, and with lots of suggestions for improvements by our users. We've created a one-of-a-kind, unique application that helps people take that hour or two they spend every week or more in virtual networking and turn it into a simple means to follow up on the people they met. Now, it's opened up a couple doors. Number one is you meet people in networking that you say you want to follow up with. Most people heretofore don't. So
Right.
There's not much value in that. And number two, with this creation, if you will, the most important people you may want to meet, you probably weren't in a breakout room with. They were in somebody else's breakout room. How do you find out who they are and identify their people you should be checking in with and starting building that connection, that relationship that could create a new joint venture or a new client or whatever it is you're seeking? So ChatBridge went from problem to an idea to early implementation, and now it's turned into a product with, just wonderful, wonderful reception. I'm in a networking call earlier today. I'm moderating the room, 7 people, and I introduce ChatBridge, and somebody stands up in the room and starts saying, "Well, I bought it 2 months ago, and it does this and this and this." And so the advocates are now carrying the ball forward with it. So that's how all my companies have emerged. And with ChatBridge, we've taken a classic problem that more than one person had and turned it into a business model.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a perfect example of using technology as your slave, because I was on a Zoom yesterday, and full disclosure, I am not a client of ChatBridge. I tend not to go to these networking events and try to meet a lot of people. I just want to come away with one or two. But I can't follow the chat. I mean, but you're trying to read something and then somebody else puts something in there, and it's just, and then when you pull it down, it's, to quote your friend, it's not usable. It's not a Word doc. It's
a .txt file. you can take it and do things with it. You can, save it and manipulate it yourself in your own computer and put it into an AI tool and have it do more stuff. However, that's not where the magic is, if I can grab that word. The magic is in, 2 or 3 milliseconds, you're ready to go on with what it is that you do.
Right.
Number one. Number two, every link that one posts is now active. So you can go and check out, let's say, my LinkedIn profile, or if I add a calendar link, you can jump in there and grab a time on my calendar if I'm open to publish that. So, and then we've added more things to allow you to highlight a follow-up group and guide you through the follow-up steps post networking, so that you actually do focus on the few people that you should be focusing on.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great example. Great example. You've been around a while. You've seen some changes in the networking world. I don't want to date you. But you remember the pre-internet days. I remember the pre-internet days.
I do remember. I remember the pre-PC days.
I was going to say, you probably remember, the whole notion of, that computers were something that big companies had. And wouldn't it be great to be a millionaire, be able to afford a computer?
I can relate to all of these things. In my first technology work, we used to take a card deck.
Yep.
Okay. Most people listening to this won't know what a card deck really means, but it's a deck of computer punch cards. And every night we rented space on an aerospace company's computer to run our card deck through their computer to get the formulation that would come out of that process.
I remember that when I was a freshman in college. That was the first year they weren't using cards, and talking to, starting to really get into rudimentary programming. I took computer science class and built a means of telling time, or counting a sequence of numbers, through coding, if you will. I don't know, it was Fortran, COBOL, I don't know what it was. It doesn't matter. But they weren't doing cards, but hearing the stories of the horror stories of somebody walking across campus with their deck of cards and dropping their cards. Yes. And if they're not in order, it's not going to work.
It doesn't. Correct.
Yeah. But I guess what I want to get at is just how you've seen this personal networking thing move through time as we've become more reliant and have this technology out there.
Well, I'm gonna do a throwback to a book published in the 80s. You're probably too young to remember this book, but John Naisbitt wrote the book Megatrends.
I remember, yep.
And I think there were 5 megatrends. And the thesis of the book is these are the 5 things that are going to affect the success of companies. He was writing it for general business, the success of companies in the future. And get on the train now with these 5 things so you don't get put out of business in a future season. The number 2 megatrend he spoke of, and again, this is the mid-'80s. The PC has just come out.
Right.
Apple is nothing like what we know it to be today. And this number 2 megatrend was successful companies, and you can put people in here now, will have to master the art of high tech and high touch. High tech, high touch became sort of a play on words. And what it really meant is the more technology comes into our lives, the more we're going to have to focus on making sure people stay in our lives.
Yeah.
And we've had an enormous evolution of technology since then. I mean, the web didn't exist in, a consumer usable way. social media didn't exist in any way, and all those things get the attention and attract our ourselves away from high touch, from people.
Yeah.
They design them theoretically to help us get connected to people, and yet we can sit across the room from someone and carry on a conversation on our cell phone with that person. So to me, the trends have clearly been separation due to technology, due to social media, due to the things that have and continue to emerge. And we have to go back and ask ourselves, how do we get back in touch, in control, in relationship with people? Because that's really where it matters the most, whether it's, you know, in business or in your family or in your community, your neighborhood. Well, as you know, I have a thesis out there that we need what's called a great relationship reset in our cultures.
Yeah, I was just going to throw that at you. Have you go? Yeah, please talk on it. Yeah.
Well, you know, I got the idea or the term, the great relationship reset, when I brought together two different elements in our life. Number one is we've been through an economic reset, a jobs reset, employment reset, work from home. I'm not going back into the office again. I don't want to. The great growth of self-employed people today, that is the product of a lot of things. And you also have the corresponding factor of this book that was written a few years ago called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Now, the number one solution to a organization or team dysfunction is people getting back in touch with people in that company on a personal level. Okay.
Yeah.
We can build great organizations if the people inside the organizations come together as a team. You can build a great football club. Ohio State can win championships if all 11 players play their role, do their job, and work in position on the team. Organizationally, it's very much something you can frame. Well, personally, we need to do the same thing. We need to get back in touch with each other. We need to make that a priority, as opposed to going into a mid-priced restaurant and seeing a family of four sitting there, waiting for the waiter staff to come up, all of them on their cell phone, going through whatever they're going through, text messages, Facebook, playing a game, whatever. And you see this all the time. They're not talking with each other. And there's the greatest missed opportunity to create the stability and the unity that we need. There's another one of my favorite authors, Dr. Robert Cialdini, talked about influence.
Yeah.
Famous series of books.
Yeah, he's the foremost authority on it.
Well, he originally wrote and said there were 5 factors. So in fact, even Stephen Covey got into this too. And then came back and added a 6th factor. And I may be making a mistake. Could have been 6 and then added a 7th. But the last factor that was added was unity. Now, unity means people unity.
Yeah.
And if we're not talking to each other, we're not necessarily united, because we're not sharing the things that we have in common. So I'm campaigning for a great relationship reset, and I just wrote a book, a draft of a book on that, and excited to get out there and just campaign that for the good it could make in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I tell people I use LinkedIn to get people on Zoom calls. right? That's my goal, is to meet with somebody enough to be able to have, we're recording this over Zoom, have a Zoom call where we can kind of be acquainted with one another, follow up on a periodic basis. And that periodic basis is going to depend on a lot of things. For some people, it's a quarterly touch base. For some, they get into your life and it's, you're communicating with them, not continuously, but maybe weekly or monthly. I've got a couple people in my world that it's twice a year. It's usually right around the holidays. Just I'm thinking of somebody who's on my podcast, Andrew Stotts, who's over in Thailand, and it just works out that the holidays we're both kind of have enough downtime, and it's a 12-13 hour difference. And so we'll catch up. It's 8 o'clock somewhere, right? So it's 8 a.m. there, 8 p.m. here. That's my goal. It's, people are like, well, how do you use LinkedIn? Like there's some sort of magic, or Alignable or Facebook, and there is no magic.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. I tell people, when you make a connection on LinkedIn that looks like it can become a real communications activity between two people, get them off LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Get them into whatever it is that you use to remind you to schedule the next interaction. And LinkedIn doesn't build relationships. It simply raises, green, yellow, and red flags on the different people you encounter in them.
Yeah.
You have to take the steps of building the relationship. So
if somebody on LinkedIn is coming at you hard, you can just tell it's kind of a veiled pitch. You sense where they're pushing it. I don't really want to have a conversation with them. Somebody who doesn't want to have a conversation, well, they have self-selected themselves out. But then there's that Goldilocks zone of people who are, let's talk, let's see where this goes, and it may go nowhere. But that's what I want to ultimately do. And a lot of them do go nowhere, and that's okay, because, it's like the old saying in marketing, right? Half your dollars are wasted, or advertising. Half your dollars are wasted. You just don't know which half.
Isn't that the truth? Yes. I agree. I mean, I had a getting to know you call with a woman today in Florida, and never met her before. We did a connection on Alignable.
Yep.
And I could look at her and say, well, gee, maybe she's a prospect, but I didn't know. And I subsequently had a wonderful call, and I've introduced her to a great partner to her audience that will lead her to her target audience. And she in turn is doing the same for me. But if I went in and tried to sell her on my crap, we could have ended that call in 5 minutes and said, what a waste of time. And that's not the way you build a success.
No, I tell people, if you want to come at me with a sales pitch, that's fine. You'll get a yes or a no. Chances are it'll be a no, and that'll be the end of it, right? But if you want to come at me and just have a relationship and just see what we know about one another, I still might not buy what you have, but I will be predisposed to wanting to help you, because we know each other, we like each other, we trust each other.
Exactly.
And some people can't get that, but well. Go ahead.
No, I said it works. So just I embrace totally what you're advocating.
Well, I guess you and I have less years ahead of us than we have behind us, right? If that makes sense, right? However you want to put it. And we get this, and it's kind of ironically, it's the younger generations that need to come to grips with that. No matter how much technology is out there, it's all going to come down to relationships. Handshakes, pats on the backs, hugs, just conversations. Those are all the things. I want to shift gears here, give you an opportunity to talk about, we've talked about ChatBridge, Engage Pro, other things you've got going, things you're doing out there, people, how the audience can help you, how they can get a hold of you. If you could do that, that would be great as we wrap up.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Frank. I'm always open to talking with people and exploring ways we can work together. ChatBridge Connect is a platform that we're now expanding, and I have another platform you've described, a software tool, very economical, called Engage Pro, and it's meant to help you stay in touch with the people that are important to you, and stay in touch on a personal level, because I believe the more I know about you personally and use it to build our relationship, the more likely we're to do whatever else might be the intent. So I'd welcome talking with people who want to explore how they can continue to grow their circle of influence or relationships. And this is a cause for me at this stage. I'm in my late 70s with my 7th company, and having one heck of a good time. And the fun I have is I also partner with nonprofits so that they can use the same tools we use in the marketplace to get the funding they need to meet their purpose, meet their mission. And so these are the kinds of things that at this stage in life get me up at early hours of the morning to get up and get going. So if people want to reach out, they can reach out to me at tom@engagepro.com. Very simple. I respond to everything. Everybody's important in that. And and my goal is to just create a legacy that at this stage would be a seed of restoration of people and relationships. And maybe that seed can grow into a full-on harvest in the lives of a good number of people.
Well, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate everything you're doing. You are, as my friend Rob Bell says, you are planting trees you will never see. And I think that's admirable of you.
Well, thank you. I've never heard that phrase, and I love it. I love it. I can relate. One of my causes was planting 500 olive trees in Africa, because it would produce a harvest 100 years from now, and that harvest would feed children. And so I've never had that phrase said before, but man, it applies to the view you gotta have if you're planting an olive tree, because it's not going to produce a fruit in the near term. One day, yes. Yeah, good job. Thank you for that.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today, and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.